Okay, so yeah, we have discussed the problems with bishop e7 and knight gf6. Okay, so the grandmaster theory, what it stands today is you play the move c6. This is the Hanham variation. Okay, you play c6 because if you remember in one of the lines, queen d5 was happening and white was setting up a battery and was winning a piece. So the c6 move controls the d5 square, and that is what is played by the grandmasters. This is the opening theory here. Okay, but before I go further into this, I also want to talk about the main line of the Danish gambit. Okay, we have discussed the main line of the Danish gambit, but what I want to tell you is when you are studying a trap, try to see this trap and connect it with some other openings. Okay, when you connect several ideas, then it will stick in your mind. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you that line which happened, right? The discovered attack and white winning a pawn in the end. There is something similar line in the Danish gambit main line, which I've shown earlier, but there the material is equal because it's a main line. So both the sides have equal material. Okay, here I showed you knight gf6, black is losing one pawn in the line, right? We have seen this knight gf6, pawn takes, and when you take with the knight, I take with the knight, you take with the pawn, bishop f7, king f7, queen d8, bishop b4, queen d2, knight bd2, and white is one pawn ahead, right? So that is we have discussed. Now let's go to the Danish gambit, the main line, and see a similar idea. The discovered attack, deflection, both the themes are there, and it is almost similar to that. And finally, it is material is equal. So what I'm saying is you connect this thing to the Danish gambit main line, then what will happen? Both the ideas will be in your mind. If you do not connect the ideas, you are not, human brain is not blessed with infinite memory. Okay, it's not you have terabytes of memory, you have computing capability of a supercomputer, you can calculate million moves per second. No, you can't. So you have to connect ideas, you have to store it in your mind in a very logical and cohesive manner so that you can retrieve the information. Okay, that is the point which I'm trying to drive at. So, okay, so now let me show you, let me take a detour and take you to the Danish gambit territory. Danish gambit is played till 2000 level. It is still played. Okay, it's not that it is not still debated, but at the grandmaster level, it is very rarely played in classical chess. Maybe in rapid and blitz you can play. E4, E5. Okay, white attacks the center immediately. D4 takes, and white gives up another pawn. You take this, and he plays bishop c4. You take another pawn, and white develops this bishop. So he has two monstrous bishops. Okay, one bishop is pointing on f7, the other bishop is on the principal diagonal. So there are two bishops which are pointing towards the king. So black has to be very careful in this. It's not that it is not a very great opening to play as white, but still here if you see, I told you in the last part that there are 5 dimensions, 5 elements in chess, 4 space, time. White is behind in material, is behind in force by 2 pawns, but in time he's ahead. He has developed 2 monstrous bishops pointing towards the black king. Okay, one is on the principal diagonal, which is not exactly at the black king, but still that bishop is also, the bishop on b2 is also monstrous. So black has to play very precisely. There are several ways of playing it. Okay, there's not one way of playing it. This is the Danish gambit accepted. Black accepts this and takes 2 pawns. So the correct move here is actually d5. You give up a pawn. Okay, you play d5. I will tell you the reason. This is again important. The central move is very important. The d5 thing, bishop takes.
Sir, because it opens both of black's bishop and gives 1 pawn back.
Yeah, it gives back 1 pawn because it will lead to good development of black's pieces. If you do not play this, this was found by Carl Schlechter. Carl Schlechter was a strong player in the 19th century. Or in the beginning of the 20th century. So he found this move d5 is a very strong idea. And you will see the parallels between this and the knight gf6 line. Yeah, he plays knight f6, important move. Now what happens if you make some other move? I exchange the bishop for the knight. This bishop is a monstrous bishop. The bishop on the light squared bishop is a monster. So black is very happy if you play something like knight f3 and he takes the bishop, and he's very happy, okay? But if black, again, white thinks that he's winning a queen, that is a wrong conclusion. That is what like Vihan concluded. Vihan concluded even worse because he was giving up two pieces and nothing was working. The knight was jumping back. But bishop f7, king f7, see the similarity. Deflection first, queen d8 and bishop b4. Exactly the same thing. Are you seeing the parallels between this and the other one which I showed you, the trap? If you do not see the parallels, again the queen will come back to d2, because if you play a move like bishop c3, I play bishop c3, and you play knight c3, I take this. Okay, so the best move here is actually to play queen d2. Okay, you have to come back, something similar to this, similar to that. Bishop d2 and then knight d2. And if you see this, white is again, no, not here, the material is equal. The material is absolutely equal. You can, there is a problem there actually when you take this. It is, yeah, so I'll tell you what is the problem. So here, if you take this pawn, what I don't know, Manit is telling or Anirudh is telling, that is not working. If you play knight e4, rook e8, then I play f3. And I will just solidify. You do not have a pawn to attack it. That is not the correct move. So here in this position, it is equal. This is the main line. Okay, in the Danish gambit accepted, this is the main line. But it is not the opening which I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to connect this opening of Danish gambit accepted to the trap which we have studied. And this is another important thing. When you're studying things, you have to connect several things. Otherwise, in your brain, it will not get stored. You will have to revise it multiple times, and then also you will forget it on the day of the competition, on the day of the tournament, in a Philidor tournament and all. When you have a lot of things, you know, a lot of things, will forget it. So I connected this Danish gambit main line, Danish gambit accepted main line, with the trap in the Philidor's defense. There, white is winning one pawn, but it is the same idea which is there. There's a discovered, there's a deflection, and there's a discovered attack. Also get these two abstractions. These are the two tactical themes. These are not very abstract, but there is some abstraction, because deflection and discovered attack you see in a lot of games. As a tactics, it's a very important thing. Yeah, after this position, black generally plays rook e8 and white plays knight f3. I mean, there's theory after this also, but this is when the theory ends here. I mean, you can say it is the beginning of the theory. Rook e3, rook e8 and knight f3 is the beginning of the Danish gambit accepted. Okay, it's not that it is and yeah, so there is one problem. So there is a trap here, which is a famous one. This is not related, but I'll tell you. If you play this knight e4, it doesn't work. Knight e4 doesn't work. If you take the knight, you are losing. Okay, you are a pawn down, but actually you interfere. You play knight blocking this. It's a check here. Okay, you play this knight e5. So this is another trap in the Danish gambit accepted. And now you are going to lose a piece, because it is called an interference. That the rook and the knight, they are intercepted. Okay, so if you play rook takes knight, I play bishop takes, and white is still a rook for a knight and a pawn. So white has an advantage. So that is a trap. Okay, you should not fall for that. That is a trap which I didn't want to discuss, but that is another trap. So see, opening theory, why you need to know? Because if you know the opening theory well, then what happens, at least you will get into the middle game comfortably. But it is not just you understand the opening theory, understand the abstractions also. Understand the tactical ideas. What is the tactical idea? The tactical idea we have discussed in this was discovered attack and also deflection. So if you understand that way, then you will be becoming stronger, because you can apply it in your games. Okay, so let me get back to Philidors, and there are several other traps to show in Philidors. I mean, I think today we'll cover a couple of them. So not the setup position. Let me get back to this. Done. No, 1 second. Okay, so we have seen this e4, e5, knight f3. Manit, maybe you should not, maybe you can stop drawing the arrows. That will be helpful. Okay, just focus. You can visualize it. That will help you further. D4. D4 we have discussed is the main move. Okay, bishop c4, knight c3 are also played, but d4 is the main strategic move. Also, you can play bishop c4, setting up the legal's mate trap. Okay, that is also an idea which is worth remembering. Bishop c4 is trying to set up the legal's mate. So that is also an interesting thing, and that is a very important checkmating idea which you should know. Okay, d4 and Hanham. Okay, so white plays knight d7. He can also play, see, knight d7 is not the only move by the grandmasters. They either play knight d7, knight c6 is also one of the moves, knight f6 is another move, and the other is simplifying the center. This is open Philidor. Black accepts that, he gives a strategic advantage to white, but he accepts that and he says that, okay, I want to simplify it, but because every turn otherwise I have to calculate these captures, and that is very confusing, so I will simplify the center. People do not want to keep the central tension because you have to calculate even more. And what International Master Sagar Shah was telling in his video, I was watching one of his videos. I mean, I'm a huge fan of his. So he was telling this, the E4, D4, E5, D5, it makes his brain go bonkers because he has to calculate all the possible captures. It is like so much calculation in every move. Whenever there's a tension in the center, it involves a lot of calculation. And that is why weak players, they generally want to resolve the tension in the center. But if you resolve it without any advantage, without any concrete lines where you're getting an advantage, you will be at a disadvantage from the opening itself or from the early middle game. Okay, so this trap, bishop c4. Okay, yeah, so no, sorry. So black can play knight c6, knight d7, knight f6, and pawn captures. These are the 4 moves which the grandmasters play. So let's look at the Hanham variation, knight d7, bishop c4. I have told you the correct theory, the correct move here is c6. Okay, c6 is controlling the d5 square, and also knight d7 and c6 moves can be interchanged. I was looking at the game between Anand and Ivanchuk. Ivanchuk, he was world number 2 for a long time. So he played third move c6, and then the fourth move knight d7. So chess has a lot of transpositions, and transpositions are very important to understand. It doesn't make a difference. He plays c6, you play bishop c4, and then knight d7. You arrive at the same position. It doesn't. That is the correct way of playing. Okay, knight d play c6. The other way of playing is the open Philidor, which white plays. Black takes the pawn here. Okay, simplifies this and gives a strategic advantage to white. See why I'm emphasizing this, because in your game, if this happens, as soon as this position arises, e4 pawn versus d6 pawn, understand that you have an advantage. Now, as white, do not exchange pieces unless you get some material advantage. If you have space advantage, one of the thumb rules, again an abstraction, again a strategic idea is, do not exchange the pieces unless you get some advantage, because the side which is crammed, he wants to exchange more and more pieces, because otherwise they will be stepping on each other's shoes. Okay, so the side which is crammed, the side which has less space, wants to exchange more and more pieces. The side which has more space, it should not exchange the pieces unless there's a concrete line where you are winning some material, or there is some other advantage which is happening. Otherwise, do not just exchange pieces. More and more pieces get traded, and suppose it's an end game, then the advantage is not there. Suppose there's a king pawn ending and that structure is there, then it's an absolute draw. It's not that you have an advantage there. The e4 versus d6 will not be an advantage. That is why when you have space, you want to keep more and more pieces. Okay, so here white just captures with the knight. Okay, and here this is a very beautiful line. This is another trap. Black plays bishop e7. Okay, now bishop e7 is a mistake. It's again a trap here. Bishop e7 is a opening mistake. The correct move here was knight gf6. Okay, so now again I want to tell you some strategic idea here. So what do you think is the mistake here? If you're white, how will you punish black? I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes to think. How would you punish black here?
So can I tell?
Yeah.
So queen h5.
Queen h5.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is no way. There's almost no way to defend the s7 pawn if unless you give a piece.
So queen, no. So when you play queen h5, I will play g6. Then
Sir, g6.
or let me think of a better move. You are threatening mate, right? Queen h5. You are threatening mate on f7. Do I have any other thing? G6, and you will have queen d5, right? G6, queen d5. Okay. Queen h5. Ah, no. Queen h5. I also have knight e5. There's a very strong move, knight e5. I'm hitting your bishop on f7. I'm protecting everything right now at this moment.
Okay.
Queen h5, I can even play knight e5 right now, or I can first play g6. When you go here, queen d5, then I can play knight e5. I have to see which one is better. But queen h5 is not working.
Okay.
Vihan, you see this? If you play this, knight e5 is a very strong centralizing knight. I'm hitting the bishop here. You have to save the bishop because this is your pride possession. The moment you exchange this, especially in this e4, e5 opening, the light squared bishop is a prized possession of white. And sometimes it is even stronger than the rook. In the early opening and the middle game, in the opening and the early middle game, the bishop is as powerful as a rook at times because the rook is inactive. And the power of a piece is manifested only when it is developed. So here this knight e5 immediately is also good. If you play f4, you can't play f4, something like that. And the moment you play this, suppose you drop your bishop, I play knight f6 and I kick your queen. You do not get the time to play f4. See, you have to do something, you'll drop it. I will play knight f6. And you go back, then I'll castle.
Sir, I'll rather play knight e6.
Now here,
Yeah.
I'll play bishop e6.
Then even I'll play bishop e6.
Okay, knight e6 if you play, 1 minute. So knight e6 is like, it's for, okay, knight e6 if you play, you're attacking my queen. Knight e6 can be played. But what is the threat there? You're attacking my queen. That is the point, right?
Yeah, and if you exchange it, I'm using pin. And then I'll bring more and more pieces.
So knight e6,
because
1 minute. One idea is, but I can get out of it. See, that is not the correct line. If you play knight e6, even if I play bishop e6, you play bishop e6, I have some problem there. So what I can do is I can play knight f6 as a response to knight e6. I can play knight f6. If you take my queen, I take your queen. But there is one problem. You'll play bishop f7 and you'll get the knight there. No, you can't play bishop f7. My knight is protecting this. Yeah. So if you play knight e6, queen h5 is not the opening theory. I'll just tell you, it is not necessary that I have to save my queen. This is a counter-attacking move. And if you take the queen, I will take your queen. And your knight is also trapped here. You can't play bishop f7. I'll play knight f7. Right?
yeah.
So, okay. So let me show this. Queen h5 is not working because it's not the correct move by opening theory. Now, this idea is again, which you can use it in multiple openings. One day I will show you it. It happens in the Rai Lopez Breyer also. Okay, and this I was able to use in the Karnataka State Open, something similar. Bishop f7 here. Okay, when I will tell you why this bishop f7 is working. Again, this has to be verified in a concrete way. Okay, whenever you are sacrificing, You have to use concrete calculation to verify. But the point is, black has pieces are passive here. E4, d6 already is an advantage for white, slight advantage, space advantage. This bishop is controlling one square in the opponent's half, h4. White on the other hand, it is controlling d5, it is controlling e6, it is controlling f7. I mean, you are controlling some squares in the opponent's territory. You're also controlling b5 and a6. You can't go to a6, but you're still controlling that square. So the white knight and the bishop, white knight and the white's light squared bishop, they are aggressively placed, and black has not castled. So you exploit this not only because of bishop f7. There is a reason. When bishop f7 happens and he plays king f8 is not playable. I'll just show you. King f8 is not playable because knight e6 happens and you fork the king and the queen. So that is unplayable. He has to play this. But why bishop f7 is working is because of the next move, knight e6. There are two themes, there are two attacking moves which come here. Bishop f7 is actually a very general attacking move which happens in several lines. We have seen that Danish gambit also, right? Bishop f7 was happening. Philidor's thing, knight gf6 also we saw bishop f6, bishop f7 deflection happening. But bishop f7 combined with knight e6 is also sometimes happens. And the key idea here is the black king cannot take the knight on e6, and that is why this is working. Who can calculate and tell me why a black king cannot take the knight? It's a simple calculation. Why do you think white can play knight e6? Vihan, any idea?
Yes, sir, I'm calculating queen d5 here.
Okay, queen d5, there's only one move. King f6.
King f6. And sir, then I play queen f5 and that's mate.
Yeah, queen f5 is mate. That is the swallowtail mate. Okay. So this knight on e6 is immune to capture. You cannot capture it because there's a checkmate in two moves. Okay. So if you capture it, queen d5 is a very strong move, and only move is king f6. And when you play this queen f5, this is the swallowtail mate. I've already explained it earlier. The king, bishop, and this, you can imagine this is type of V. This is the mouth of a fish, which is opened up, and that is why this is a checkmate here. The two pieces, the friendly pieces, they are not letting black king escape. So knight e6 when you play, right? That is why it's not just bishop f7. You have to see the knight e6 also before playing this move. Sometimes, see, in a practical game, you cannot calculate everything. In classical game, this will be opening. So either you will be knowing it, or you can calculate also. For 15-20 minutes, you can calculate and see whether it is working, because the classical game is basically meant for you to calculate the lines deeply and come to a correct conclusion, not to play in haste. Okay. So knight e6, you have to see that knight e6 is a beautiful move. Black king cannot capture. So he has to save the queen because the queen is attacked. If you make any other move, then I just capture the queen and white is trivially winning. Okay, it's huge material advantage with no compensation. It's an absolutely lost position. So the only move which is worth considering, see again in the calculation, only move which you should worth consider is queen d8. Other moves, knight f6, I just take the queen, you can resign here. Okay, so queen d8 is the only move in the queen e8 is the only move in the position because the black queen is attacked. He has to move the queen. Yeah, so you can do the fork here. Knight c7 is an obvious fork. You're forking the queen and the rook, but the calculation goes deeper than that. See, in actual game, if you have arrived at this point, you can stop the calculation because time clock is ticking, and you see that you have got 2 pawns, you have got a rook and 2 minor pieces for a rook and 2 pawns and a very exposed king. That is good enough. You can go ahead and play in the actual game, right? In the actual game also, because time is also there, right? Your time is ticking. Even in the classical game, it's not that you have infinite time. But if you know the opening theory, then what happens? You know that it is winning by force. So here there are 2 lines. One is queen to Dallas f8 and one is queen to f8. Okay, there are only two moves. King f8 is not possible, otherwise the queen will be lost. So now let's look at both the moves of the queen. Black is losing by force in both the moves, queen d8 and queen e8, queen d8 and queen f8. Both he's losing. Let's go to it one by one. So queen d8, let's investigate queen d8 first. If you play queen d8, okay, then queen to d5, very strong check. You are now bringing one more force into an attack, a very powerful queen, because the queen loves to attack the opponent's king. It has come into play, and you cannot come to the 6th rank. If you come to f6, then queen f5 is mate. Same swallowtail mate. If you play king g6, then queen f5 is still mate, because there's a bishop controlling the h6 square. That is the that is a dovetail mate, something similar to the dovetail mate, right? So you cannot bring your king to the 6th rank, right? You cannot bring the king to the 6th rank. f6 and g6 both are losing in one move checkmate, right? So he has to play king f8. Now knight e6 wins the queen. You can stop your calculation here also in the actual game, but the second world champion Lasker has said, Emmanuel Lasker, he has told, when you see a good move, try to find even better move. Okay, so see, in actual game here you are winning. Okay, it's not that you need to know the precise move till move number 10 or 11 and then figure out. But here it is winning by force. I'll show you. If you play king f7, that is a meaningless move because it's a double check. It's a check with the knight. If you play king f7, I play knight to d8, and it's a double check. You have lost your queen for nothing, and you can very well resign here. This is not a defendable position. This is totally lost here. Okay.
Sir,
So
and now you play some king f8 and then it's mate, and if you play king e8, it's resigned.
yeah, so he has to play king e8, and now you will play. See, you can take the queen also. That is also winning. Don't get the impression that taking the queen is not winning. But knight g7 is even stronger. I'll tell you the reason for this, why it is there, and that is what. If you are getting a chance to checkmate, deliver checkmate, look for that, not to get queen or rook or bishop or knight. Okay, in actual game, in a practical game, sometimes you are not able to see clearly, then even getting the queen is good enough. But when you're calculating and learning it, then you find the best move. Okay, I have to find the best move no matter what. King f8, only move. Okay, you come back, dance of the knight. Okay, now there will be checkmate in one or two moves. If you play queen e8, queen h5 is mate. King e8 is, queen h5 is mate. Okay, this is a mate. You can't go anywhere. There is another thing. Now you play king f7. Now also you will get mated, but because of a different reason. I play queen h5. I give up the knight because, yeah, if you play king f6, then queen f5 is mate. Okay, king f6 is simply the mate there, right? Queen f5. If you take this again, it is the dovetail mate.
So yeah, dovetail mate, queen f5.
Yeah, queen f5. Okay, why I'm telling you the patterns, because if you know the patterns in complicated problems also, you can use it. If you don't know the patterns, then you will not be able to use it that frequently. Okay, I mean, you will have more difficulty. Yeah.
Also, bishop e7 made a mate in 8 moves.
Yeah. So 1 minute. So let's jump back and see where were we. That queen f8 we have to see, right? 1 second. Let me jump to king f8. Where is it? Knight g7. Yeah, king e8 we went, right? No, queen d5. 1 second. Yeah, king e6 is lost. Knight e6, and we were looking at queen e8, right? And then we looked at here. We have discussed the move queen d8. Queen d8, queen d5 is winning. Winning by force. Either you're winning the queen or you're winning the full house. You're delivering the checkmate. So now what we are considering is queen to f8. This is also losing. Okay, I'll show you. So when I was looking at this, and I was reading a book which has traps. So I was thinking about queen d5, but he goes to g6 and I'm not able to find a good move. Now f5 is not available. The queen is there on f8. So this g6 square is a good spot for the black king. So what you want to deprive him of that g6 square. Okay, because otherwise I thought of queen d5, it looks like a strong move. King g6, he's in terrible shape. White will be winning later on also. He will take the rook and it is a very strong position. But I do not see immediate forcing win. Okay, so how do I deprive the black king of the g6 square? I give a check on h6, h5. And the only move, surprisingly, is you can't play king f6. Okay, king f6 again, the swallowtail mate will happen.
You
And
play G
yeah,
and the own army blocks it.
yeah, when you play g6, then that g6 square, you are depriving the black king of the g6 square. That is why you dance with the queen from h5 to Dallas 5, right? So you first go to h5 and then you come to d5. You want to come to d5. You want to centralize the queen. The queen, I have told you that all the pieces have to be centralized. Okay, so you are forcing the queen to d5. Okay, you're forcing black to play g6. You're depriving him of that square. And for that, you needed to do this maneuver. Or you can say the dance of the queen. The queen went to h5 and then went to d5. And what it resulted in? It resulted in black king going to a dark square. Okay, and this is another important thing. When you're forking with the knight, then no, not take the rook. Knight e6 is very strong, forking the king and the queen. When you want to fork two pieces with the knight, or maybe three pieces, all the pieces have to be on the same color complex. This is very important. If I want to fork the king and the queen, both have to be on dark squares. Otherwise, the fork with the knight will never happen. Okay, similarly with the bishop, it is easy to appreciate because the bishop is one, you have two bishops. One is a dark squared bishop, one is a light squared bishop. So it's easy to appreciate. But that is why you forced him to a dark square. Okay, if you didn't force him to a dark square, then this will not happen. Knight e6 and you win the queen. Okay, there is one more possibility. When you give a check, he can come to king f6. But still you want to force him to the dark square g7. That is why you will play bishop g5. Strong move, but see, this is a strategically one position, right? If you have a strategically one position, you will be able to figure out. But just I'm showing you the final touches of it. Bishop g5, the king goes to g7, and now you play knight e6, and you are winning by force. It's not that you are winning after 25 moves. You're winning the queen immediately. If he plays queen d8, then also he's either losing the queen or he's getting checkmated. If he plays queen f8, he doesn't get checkmated immediately, but he loses the queen nevertheless. Okay, so this was an interesting trap. I mean, this trap is a good one. I mean, in the sense that where were we? In the open Philidor, right? Bishop e7 is the mistake. You should not play bishop e7. You should play knight gf6 here. That is why, because the knight gf6, what happens? It controls the d5 square. It takes control of the d5 square. So the queen will not be able to land on d5. Okay, the queen cannot land on h5 also. Okay, bishop here lands you in trouble because of the two moves. Bishop f7, not queen h5. This is what Vihan was telling. Bishop f7, king f7, knight e6, very important move. Okay, so once you play this knight e6, it is a lost position. That is what I was trying to show it to you. But now what should you learn from this thing before we conclude? One is bishop f7 is one important strategic idea. I mean, it's not a strategic idea, it's a tactical theme, but it is some abstraction. Some abstraction in the sense you can use it in your games quite often. Bishop f7 sacrifice happens very often. So bishop f7 is, you have to keep your eyes open. If the black king, if the defender's king has not castled and your pieces are more active, then you can sometimes sacrifice the piece. Okay, bishop f7, if you have to calculate and see whether it is working. We have seen in the Philidor's, the other one, knight gf6, he was winning one pawn. We have seen in the Danish opening, okay, he was not winning, but that is another idea. Bishop f7 is not winning anything, but it is winning. But here bishop f7 is very strong. It is winning the game by force. Bishop f7, king f7, knight e6, game over. Okay, The second theme which I want to, again, it's a tactical theme. Knight e6 also comes up in several other openings also. In Sicilian also it happens, but there's another thing maybe I'll show you next time in the Philidor. Knight e6 trap, knight lands on e6. It offers itself that you take me, and the black king is totally exposed and he gets mated very quickly. Okay, so the two sacrifices which are tactical, but there is some abstraction to it. Abstraction, what I mean is you can use it in your games again and again. It is not just in this game. One is bishop f7 and the second is knight e6. Sometimes it is combined, like here it is bishop f7 and knight e6 combined. I showed you another time where it was just bishop f7. Next time when we discussed, I will show you one knight e6 only, where knight e6 alone is there. Bishop f7 is not possible to play that. And that also is a, black is totally destroyed because his king is totally exposed and he gets checkmated. There he has a way of avoiding the checkmate, but yeah, knight e6 is still played to just expose the black king. Okay, so I think I will stop the recording here and we can discuss for a couple of minutes. 1 second.